All right. Well, Blake, thank you for having me over.
Absolutely.
You know, we're in the middle of a very important election, and got some very competitive races on the ballot. So
We do.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's incredible
Yes.
how things have turned.
Yes. There's one in particular. We've got a candidate for, actually our nominee for Attorney General coming to town Monday. And he is going to be bringing a 26-foot billboard van with him that he's been touring around Texas, highlighting an issue with our current Attorney General. And first, I'd like for you to just tell us a little bit about what the Attorney General does.
Well, it's very interesting because a lot of us don't even realize that we have a lawyer that represents us all the time. We have a law firm, literally, except that all government paid lawyers, 750 lawyers, huge amount of staff that are supposed to be there for the specific purpose of taking care of rights and issues that all of us citizens in Texas have. Not only bringing lawsuits if necessary or defending lawsuits if necessary for our own good. So if somebody asks you, well, have you ever been represented by a law firm? Yes, you have. And it's one you're paying for with your taxes.
Okay. And you know, one lawsuit that's in the news is the lawsuit pertaining to pre-existing conditions. Are you familiar with that one?
Absolutely. One of the things I've done throughout my career as an attorney is represent people who've been injured. And so the issue comes up fairly often, you know, is this a condition that was created now or later? But when you think about it outside of the area or the scope of litigation, you just think of it in terms of individuals, how incredibly vulnerable we are if our insurance decides not to pay merely because the condition may have been there in advance of that particular policy. It leaves us totally vulnerable. It can take away our life savings. It can create a situation where your kids can't go to school and so forth.
Okay. And my understanding is that's one of the most popular portions of the Affordable Care Act is that people that otherwise would not be able to get health insurance can get it through the Affordable Care Act.
One of the most important wins of the Affordable Care Act was pre-existing conditions. And for a long time, there were people on the other party who were fighting against that because they received a lot of donations from insurance companies, and insurance companies would rather not have to pay out that money and leave their insurers in a position of tragic economic loss. But they're coming around too, I noticed. A lot of people stutter when you start asking, well, are you really for doing away with pre-existing conditions? The people have spoken a lot about that particular issue.
Okay. And it's interesting that some of the people that oppose protection for pre-existing conditions are now claiming during election time that they support keeping the protection.
There's been this enlightenment because whenever you go somewhere and you mention that, your crowd, I don't care, liberal, conservative, whoever they might be, they understand that they do not want to have their families vulnerable to bankruptcy because of the unfortunate pre-existing condition.
Okay. And that reminds me, you know, kind of like that tax bill where they said that it was going to be a middle-class tax cut and the average person was going to save $4,000 a year on their taxes. Well, now they've admitted that that was not the case, and they're talking. Right before the election, they've said that between now and Election Day, they're going to pass up a middle-class tax bill. So.
Which, of course, is silly. It's one of the things, and I understand Trump is our president, but one of the advantages he has over other people is he's not encumbered with facts. And this is something obviously couldn't happen, even if everybody in Congress wanted it to between now and then. The thing that's amazing about the tax cut is that the top 1%, all multi-billionaires, got 60% of the tax benefit from this thing. So it didn't stimulate our economy as it should have. They don't need to buy another car. They have plenty of money to get a car. So the economy didn't change as a result of these guys having more millions of dollars in their bank account.
Okay. And then the effect on the deficit and the debt is driving up inflation costs. So the actual purchasing power of the middle class has gone down.
If you look at it in net terms, in other words, inflation makes your dollars worth less. if you look at it in a race between inflation making your dollars worth less and how much a raise an ordinary guy has gotten, it's a net loss. In other words, we're taking less money home than we were before all this started. One other thing, I interrupt you just a second, that I think is pretty important. One of the other things that's going on in Texas I cannot understand is that we have denied a huge amount of Medicare money for free. We get it for free from the federal government. And one of the things our lawyer, the Attorney General, ought to be doing is saying, that's just not right. That's not legal. You're taking money away for no benefit to anybody. So I worry about that. If I was the Attorney General, that would be my first issue, I think. Literally billions of dollars that we're walking away from.
Okay. And just to be clear, who is our current Attorney General?
I don't know his name. I don't think I've ever actually even seen the man. He has an office, I'm sure, somewhere.
The ironic thing is that he is running commercials talking about his integrity. But yeah, you're probably going to start hearing him referred to as indicted Ken Paxton.
That's another question I posed to you before we started the review. The man's literally indicted.
Yes, it's either 3 or 4 felony indictments.
Well, let me tell you very quickly what you have to do to be indicted. You can't just have a district attorney somewhere say, well, you know what, I think you're guilty of something. You get citizens from the community, and you have them go to a special room, and the district attorney has to put on evidence, or the U.S. attorney, on evidence of a crime. And the people on this jury have to determine that there is sufficient evidence to indict. So we're not talking about just somebody said deal. This is a very structured, very serious system before an indictment can be issued. And if that's already been done, that's a major piece of evidence that you need to have before you make a vote.
And ordinarily, once a person is indicted, aren't they taken into custody to go to jail?
Sometimes they are. It depends on the situation. I suspect the Attorney General knows enough people to where he didn't have to be put in jail.
From what I hear, he's out on bond.
Yeah.
Because one of the bond conditions I hear is that, as a Texan, he cannot own a firearm. because of his felony indictment.
Now think about it just for a moment. I call up our attorney, the ones that he's supposed to take care of you and me, with these 750 lawyers he has working at his side. Hey, let's go dove hunting. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm under felony. What? My lawyer? The one that's representing me on child support, on all of the other general issues that Texans have, and the man can't have a gun with him because he's under indictment. That's kind of scary.
Yeah. But, okay, so this happened 3 years ago. Okay, under normal circumstances, isn't there a right to a speedy trial? Wouldn't a normal citizen have gone to trial by now? How can that happen?
Well, there are times when cases are put off for long periods of time. Obviously, our Attorney General is not excited about having a quick trial, because if he's already been found probably guilty by a trial of his peers, then he may well be found guilty by a criminal trial. So he's going to put it off as long as he can. And if you have money and if you have influence, you can get a case put off for a while, but not forever.
All right.
If he gets elected as Attorney General, he will be in a criminal trial during his tenure.
Okay. So, and I think that's the issue, is that the average person doesn't realize positions like land commissioner, ag commissioner, attorney general. We all know about the governor, president, senators, mayor, but for folks that are considering maybe voting a straight Republican ticket, what would you say to them about the implications of electing this man who has, been indicted of felony charges for bribery and fraud?
Well, I am personally against it. If I were the guy in charge, I wouldn't allow there to be straight ticket voting, because so many things go under the visibility of your vote. And this is a classic example. You like this Republican, and he's a good guy or a good gal, and you want to vote for him. So you do the Republican thing, and you sweep all other people without necessarily having thought about it, including someone who may well be under indictment.
And you know, it's interesting. The Texas legislature passed a law in the last session to end straight ticket voting in 2020. So this is the last year that we will be able to select that one button to select all the candidates from a party. Now, here's the issue with that. You look at some of the metropolitan areas, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, Austin, El Paso, they already have long lines, and they have pages and pages of candidates on their ballots. You know, some of the smaller areas, Tyler, more rural areas, it may not affect us as much time-wise, but my suspicion is that the Texas legislature was not concerned with getting better representation. It was another form of voter suppression.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Because if you're a man or a woman who's working on an hourly job and you've already taken off 2 hours and you're wanting to go to the grocery store after this is over and take care of your kids, yeah, I see your point. The longer and more complicated, the harder. But there's other technical ways, of course, also to make voting go quicker. I've already voted, and I waited maybe 45 minutes to vote. But the truth is, there were a whole bunch of the voting machines that weren't actually being used. So there could have been a better system set up when I voted as well, without any more technical expertise.
Okay. I'm going to move this. So interesting that you bring up voting. You know, we've heard some complaints from people that from where the selection screen, where they select candidates, to where they review the candidates, their selections, that votes have been changing. And I've received some personal calls, I've received some email messages about it, and the thing I say every single time is, do not leave that machine, do not leave that polling place without reporting that to the Democratic election judge. Okay?
Absolutely.
Let them look at it, see if it can be reproduced, so it can be troubleshooted, because if there's a problem with that machine, it needs to be either fixed or that machine needs to be pulled. Because
Absolutely.
there are other people that may assume that the machine is working right. So if you see that problem, please call, number one, call the election judge over and show them what's happening. You can report it to our elections administrator or call the Smith County Democratic Party.
Yeah, not only, I mean, obviously we don't have the wrong person elected based on some sort of misinformation on the machine.
Right.
But secondly, even if it's only just one vote, this guy's taking off work, or this gal's taking off work. It's driven up here, we wait in line for 45 minutes, and the machine gives a wrong, no. We're a better, more advanced society than that. We'll not have that kind of issue coming up.
Okay. All right. Here's one issue that I think there's a pattern here in East Texas, is that one story I like to tell about my personal situation. My grandfather was 95 years old when he passed this year. Okay? You would not meet a more conservative American than my grandfather. You know, World War II veteran, believed in hard work. You know, he was very traditional. A lot of new things that we accept nowadays, he didn't grow up that way. So he was very traditional. He was resistant to change, but if he was presented with facts and evidence, then he would take that into consideration and change his views and beliefs based on that information. So I think there's a misconception of the word conservative. And a lot of people equate that with being a Republican. What are your thoughts on people that are truly conservative and that they are traditional, they don't like change, they may not like a lot of ways in which rights have extended to other groups, they may be a little resistant to progress? What would you say to people that are conservative in their views and belief that, you know, how do our Democratic candidates align with people that hold conservative views?
I think one of the problems with all having, seems like more today, I keep listening to TV about how there's these bots or whatever they're called, or going out and convincing people to be mad, to be angry. And so you end up being more and more and more polarized. So at one time you finally find out that, wait a minute, let me go look in the dictionary for the word conservative. Because now it's being used as a label rather than a word. Absolutely. There's many things I think of myself as being conservative about, to a large degree. But I see the people I voted for, who might be called liberal, to be carrying out that banner for me. So the best thing that I've seen of some of the candidates this year, which has been so relieving, is they actually they listen. They listen, and they don't use label words. They use sentences with a subject and a verb and an idea in it. So I don't think there's anything wrong at all with being conservative. Most of us are on certain issues, or we should be.
So conservative does not mean Republican.
No, it does not. Of course it doesn't.
And that's the thing. Conservative is an adjective.
Exactly.
They use the word conservative as a noun, which is more like a political philosophy.
Yes, it's true.
So that's one thing that I hope people understand, is that you can still vote for Democratic candidates and still be a conservative Texan.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. Find out what both sides are saying carefully. Take all of the throwaway words out and what they're truly saying, and then think about it. And if it turns out it's something that you think of as terms of conservative, that's fine. That's great. If you have a Democrat is suggesting that, and several of my good friends who are running this year are conservative on many issues. And I'm 100% behind it for it.
You mentioned voting. I was standing outside one of the polling places, and I heard a gentleman say sarcastically something to the effect of, "I didn't see any Russians messing with my machine." Well, the tragedy in that statement is that Russians didn't have to physically manipulate the machine. They manipulated his thoughts and perceptions.
Yeah. And it's a whole new world for that. And you mentioned something about that before. In the old days, the Republicans and the Democrats in Washington would argue till 5 o'clock. Then they'd go out and have a scotch and work it out, you know? And they were friends, and they thought things through, and they listened to the other side. But one of the things that's causing that to be less of an issue for us now, where we don't listen to the other side, is that there are ways, and I don't know how it's done, but there are ways that you can get into Facebook and the other types of computer communication and have thousands or hundreds of thousands of messages sent out every day trying to polarize people one way or the other. It's probably the number one threat, in my opinion, more than military, of our way of life and our democracy.
Interestingly enough, I just submitted a letter to the editor, and I hope they publish it this Sunday, on the importance of truth and facts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're running a business, you want accurate financial data. You want accurate market data. You don't want your accountants to come lie to you and tell you everything is great, and then you run your business thinking you have so much money in the account, or that materials cost this amount. Mm-hmm. You want factual information. Yet we have people here that will sit down every day and watch Fox News.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And accept that as actual journalistic news.
Yes. Yes.
So how can you possibly have an accurate perception of events when you're accepting lies as truth?
It's hard to. And I think that one of the challenges all of us have, all the thinking people, all of the real voters have, is to search out the news and double check it, make sure that we're actually understanding the facts of the situation. If we find out one of our sources is skewing things beyond the pen where the truth is, then we need to quit doing that. We need to find some other source. And I've got about 4 different stations I watch now trying to get the truth, and when I find one of them saying things that I have researched and found was incorrect, they're off my list. And unfortunately, Fox is one of those. There's some of the people who report on Fox that I respect and I like, but overall, there's so many things that are said or Trump is quoted when all of us know that that quote is not the truth.
All right. Well, anything else you'd like to say, with this, what are we, about a week, maybe 10 days left till Election Day?
I would like to say this. People are more active. They seem to be more sincere about voting. When I was early voting, I waited 45 minutes to vote. I wasn't upset about it. I was proud. I was proud of it. And I think that this may be a turning point in that respect, as long as we stay away from non-news, the non-facts that are trying to make us mad or angry, and listen carefully and figure out what the truth is and go vote it. I think we'll get the type of government we deserve.
Well, Blake, I met you back in 2008 when you were running for Texas Supreme Court.
Yeah.
President Obama was running his first term.
Yeah,
and,
he did a better job than I did.
Well, yeah, we met back in 2008 when you were running for Supreme Court. President Obama was running for his first term. And I remember a joke that you told me about the time you went to go buy some puppies, and I'll let you pick it up from there.
The story goes, this lady had 8 new puppies. And so she put out a poster, puppies to be given away for good homes. And so a friend of mine went by and looked at the puppies and said, "Oh, they're just beautiful. What kind of puppies are these?" And she said, "They're Republican puppies." I what? And you mean Spaniel or no? They're Republican puppies. I said, "Well, that's fine. I'll come back in a few weeks and pick one of them up as soon as it's time to take them from their mommy." He came back and brought a friend with him because he thought that was pretty cute, Republican puppies. He said, "Now tell me and my friend again what kind of puppies these are." "These are Democrat puppies." "I thought for sure you said Republican last time I was here." She said, "Yes, but their eyes are open now."
All right. Well, Blake, thank you.
Appreciate you, my friend.
All right, appreciate you.